Hello and welcome to InvestorToday.ca. I'm your host, Dave Glover. InvestorToday.ca is brought to you in conjunction with RBL Communications, your online IR professionals. It's Thursday, November 1st, 2012, and today I'm joined by Mark Fekete. Mark Fekete is the president and CEO of Stakeholder Resources Corp, which trades on the TSX under the symbol SRC. Stakeholder acquires Sourdough Hill silver property in Keno Hill Silver Camp, Yukon. Stakeholder Gold Corp is very pleased to announce that it has entered into an arm's-length agreement with a syndicate of local prospectors whereby it may earn a 100% interest in the 23-claim Sourdough Hill property located in the Keno Hill Silver Camp of central Yukon, approximately 330 kilometers north of Whitehorse. Keno Hill Silver Camp is historically one of the world's highest-grade silver districts, with past production from more than 35 deposits. Between 1913 and 1989, the camp generated more than 217 million ounces of silver from over 5.3 million tons of ore, with average grades of 40.52 ounces per ton silver. Mark Fekete, welcome to the show. It's a great pleasure to have you here.
Yeah, this is a deal we've been working on for some time. The vendors are two Yukon-based prospectors that have held the Sourdough Hill property since 1963. They felt the property has considerable value, and it took some horse trading to work out a deal. But we're at a point where they're happy and we're happy. The property's not very large. It's only 23 claims. But like they say in the real estate business, location is everything. Sourdough Hill's got great location. It's smack dab in the middle of the Keno Hill Silver Camp in central Yukon, which is about 300 kilometers north of Whitehorse.
So now, historically, Keno Hill has been a really great area of play for silver, though, hasn't it?
Yeah, that's the main thing about Keno Hill. It has an incredibly rich heritage of silver mining. Historically, the camp produced close to 220 million ounces of silver between the period of 1913 to 1989. The camps produced an impressive amount of lead and zinc as well, lesser amounts of copper and gold, and exotic metals like indium. It's a real treasure box. The second thing about Keno Hill is that it's one of the world's richest silver districts. The average grade there is 40 ounces per ton. If you compare this with typical operations in Mexico, where 5 to 6 ounces per ton is considered very good, you begin to understand why Stakeholder is so excited about working in Keno. The third thing about Keno Hill is the excellent infrastructure, and that comes from it being a mining camp in the past. We can drive right to our property, and we can house our crews in Keno City. Hydropower lines come right into the town site of Keno City. The problem with Yukon, or much of Yukon, is it suffers from a lack of infrastructure, and accordingly, exploration costs are relatively high. This is not the case in Keno, where existing facilities will give us a chance to drive our costs down so that they're comparable to projects in southern Canada. And the last thing I should mention is Keno Hills has sat dormant for a long time. Due to low silver prices, the mines were shut down in 1989 by the operator at the time, United Keno Hill Mines. And eventually those assets ended up with the Yukon government. In 2006, a company called Alexco cut a deal with the government whereby it acquired all the Keno Hill assets, and in exchange it agreed to do reclamation work on all the old mine site. And Alexco has been very aggressive. They've fast-tracked their Bell Keno mine, and they've built a brand new modern mill. In January 2011, they were able to put Bell Keno into production, and the Keno Hill area was revived after 17 years sitting on the shelf.
Right. Well, my next question was going to be, where is Sourdough Hill in relation to Bell Keno?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting. From all the research that we've done, including several site visits, everything indicates that the Keno deposit trends directly onto the Sourdough Hill property. The property lies directly south and it's immediately adjacent to the Bell Keno property. And why this is exciting to us is Bell Keno has produced 2 million ounces this year, or it's projected to produce 2 million ounces this year. It has reserves of almost 10 million ounces. Next year, when we start exploration, our goal will be to prove that the Bell Keno deposit indeed continues onto our ground. The other thing that's really exciting about the Sourdough Hill property is that there's never been any real modern exploration. There's been some prospecting and some limited surface trenching, but as far as we can tell from the government record and what we see on the ground and from our discussions with the vendors, there's never been any geochemical or geophysical surveys, and certainly no drilling. So all in all, it's virgin ground right in the middle of a world-class mining camp.
No, you say that the prospectors you acquire this from have been there since 1963. Obviously doing placer mining, as it were, or what have they been doing?
No, it's hard rock exploration, but it's a classic example of two guys that started out when they were quite young. They staked this property, and they were just never able to put together enough money to go out and do a proper exploration job. And then basically with the price of silver where it was at for most of the 90s and this decade, that it just wasn't worth going out there and prospecting for silver. So that kind of explains why it's sat there for so long without any real work.
Mm-hmm. Now, how did you get attracted to this particular project? I mean, in the past, Stakeholder has focused on gold. We know you've got your Ballarat project, and you know, this seems to be somewhat of a change of direction for Stakeholder. Is that because you feel an attraction to silver at this point?
It's pretty clear that the future for both gold and silver are very bright. The U.S. government has drastically overextended itself, and it seems to me and a lot of other people that the U.S. can only print money for so long before the world begins to start moving away from the dollar. Mm-hmm. Europe is not much better, as we've seen over the last couple of years. And, you know, if and when China lets its currency float, I doubt if they'll fare any better. So gold and silver will become more important as currency as we move forward. I like silver in particular because right now there's a shortage of above ground supplies relative to gold. That is to say, there's lots of silver in the ground, but not too much in the vaults. Simple supply and demand says this shortfall is bound to drive the price up. The second point, it's not so clear, but right now at its current price levels, it's still lagging behind gold on an inflation-adjusted basis. So I think it has a lot of catching up to do on the consumer price index. At the ground level, silver has been very important to the Yukon economy historically. You can argue quite convincingly that it's more important than gold. Although Yukon's famous for gold, you know, the Klondike Gold Rush and all that history there. If you really look at the silver, in the past it's kind of been the backbone of mining in Yukon, both as a primary product from the Keno Hill area, but also as a byproduct from some of the big base metal mines that have produced in the past.
Right.
So in the short term, we'll be focusing on Sourdough Hill, but Stakeholder will be looking out for other silver projects, both in the Keno Hill area and elsewhere in Yukon.
Well, that sounds excellent. Now, I guess, is the goal here then to bring this to a mining status so that you can actually generate revenue for Stakeholder?
Oh, that would be great, but being realistic, we're not a mining company. We're an exploration company. So our preferred business plan, our model would be to take it to a point where it's interesting to a company. Obviously, Alexco's right in the area, so if we can prove up some reserves on this Sourdough Hill property, then we would likely sell it to a company that's more focused on production.
Absolutely. So when do you figure you're going to hit the ground running on this particular location?
Well, this time of year, it's winter up there, and it's relatively high elevation, so we won't be able to do any work at Sourdough Hill before I'd say mid-June of next season.
Right. Well, you know, I always at the end of these interviews, I like to give the subject here the last word. Is there any last word you'd like to give to investors or current shareholders?
Well, this is a change of direction for the company from gold into silver. There's no question. I think it's important to note that we still have an impressive portfolio of gold properties in that Klondike white gold area. I think what's happened this summer is investors have kind of turned their backs on this play. But with this new discovery by Comstock Metals this summer, that's brought a few people back. Look at what Kamenak is doing on its coffee property. You know, it's a slow and steady type thing, and they're developing their project slowly but surely. And I think that's going to, in the long run, that's going to give credibility to the whole Klondike white gold play.
Absolutely.
So you know, Stakeholder is going to stick to this area, despite the fact that we're moving into silver. On the corporate side, we have a good board of directors and good management. We have very strong Yukon experience and connections. We also have a reasonable share structure. Our market cap right now is incredibly low. Mm-hmm. And any way you look at it, Stakeholders is currently a bargain. We have not really marketed the company very hard, but now with this new silver property, the Sourdough Hill project, we'll be out there telling our story, and we'll be looking to raise money for the upcoming exploration season.
Well, as always, I love talking to you and other fellas in your industry. It's very exciting. It's a great opportunity for investors, and it's a great opportunity for shareholders now who may have seen the prices drop, but are now realizing there's going to be some serious value coming down the road. Okay, well, thanks for those words, Dave, and all we can go is up. Absolutely. Well, any new news releases coming out, obviously we'll be happy to get in touch with you then. And for the listeners, I want to thank you for tuning into InvestorToday.ca. I'm your host, Dave Glover. With me has been Mark Fekete, the president of Stakeholder, SRC, on the TSX venture. We'll see you next time.